YouTube, welcome back. It is finally here. Championship weekend is upon us. In today's video, I'm going to give you my predictions for who I think is going to win each of the matchups on Saturday. Those matchups will essentially lead us to Championship Sunday, the best of 9, one map Championship Sunday. The winner will end up being your victor, your 2020 Call of Duty League champion. So with that, again, we're going to take you through Saturday's matchups today. There'll be another video coming out Sunday where I'll get you set for the championship matchup on Sunday. But as we go ahead and look at our bracket here for championship weekend, we have 3 matches essentially on Saturday. It's going to start with our losers bracket semifinal. So the losers bracket final will be this elimination final right here, but the elimination round 5, which is the losers bracket semifinal, will be between the Chicago Huntsmen and the London Royal Ravens. That's going to happen Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 1 p.m. Central Time, which is 11 a.m. Pacific Time. Then we have Atlanta versus Dallas in our winners bracket final. That match is going to happen at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 2:30 Central Time, which is 12:30 Pacific Time. And those in the UK, I think you're 5 hours ahead of us, so that would be 8:30 in the UK. But anyways, getting into this one, we are going to go ahead and this will take us through both of these matchups. It'll take us through our elimination finals matchups, which will get us set for Championship Sunday. I do want to go ahead and just show you guys what each of these teams, just a brief reminder of what they did in their most recent matchups so that you kind of understand where my predictions might be coming from. So to start with this, we'll look at what Chicago did against OGLA. Again, this went to map 5. It went to round 11. One of the most exciting matchups that we've ever seen in the history of competitive Call of Duty. But if we look at this overall, Chicago was really led, and I'll say just to begin with that everybody had a decent day, right? There was no true superstar for Chicago in this matchup. There was no person that came out and dropped like a 0.6, right? Everybody was basically right around 1.0. Formal and Envoy had a 1.01. Arcides had a 0.93. Pristini had a 0.98. Scump had a 0.91. So like we said, everybody was right around 500 when it came to this matchup in particular. One of the biggest keys that I'm looking at here is that when it came to hardpoint, Pristini had a 0.98 KD, and that's big, right? Because he's that super aggressive player. He's that entry man. He's that route man that's usually trying to win rotations or get kills in those critical chokes. So if he does his job, it usually ends up working out well for Chicago. So this is kind of how the last matchup went for Chicago. They won the Gunrunner hardpoint. They were able to clutch up down the stretch. Again, a lot of that had to do with the rotations for Pristini. We broke those down on my channel. If you haven't seen them, make sure you go back and watch them. The Ramaza hardpoint was very similar. Then the 6-5, the round 11 win in Arklov Peak Search and Destroy. So that is how Chicago made it into Championship Sunday. The other team that they'll be facing up against is the London Royal Ravens, who got a super impressive victory over the Toronto Ultra, and this was a little bit easier for London than I think a lot of teams thought it was going to be, especially after the fact that Toronto came out, won that Gunrunner hardpoint. That map won 250 to 230, but after that, the Gunrunner S&D, London won 6-4 in the domination on Gunrunner. They ended up winning by 9. The St. Petro hardpoint, that was kind of, I don't want to say that it was easy for them, but if you win by 70 points in that last map to go on and win the series, they just weren't really challenged all that much. And it all came behind, if we're looking at the KDs on the left-hand side, it all came behind the 1.3 overall KD from Shawnee. We saw Shawnee yesterday on an episode of the Eavesdrop. You can tell the confidence that those guys are playing with. So really happy for them, along with 0-0 had a 1.05. And the other thing, so again, all of these players played pretty well overall, right? If you're looking across the board, there aren't any 0.7s, there aren't any 0.8s. So everybody was really close to a 1.0 KD, other than Shawnee, who absolutely popped off. But we have seen time and time again that Wuskins and Scraps are really the two that are leading London match after match. And that was a little bit different here. So if you have those two playing well, then that is also backed up with the play of Shawnee and the play of Zero. I mean, that's a good sign for London moving forward. Let's go ahead and move into the Toronto versus Dallas matchup. So when it came to this one, this really wasn't close at all, right? This is the matchup that catapulted Dallas into that winner's bracket final. But Clayster had a 1.25, Krim had a 1.04, Hugh had a 1.02, Illy had a 1.1, Shotzi had a 1.06. Every single player here. There was one map. It was the Gunrunner Hardpoint. Dallas ended up beating Toronto. If you're looking at KDs overall, they had a positive 45 team KD. Think about that. That basically never happens, right? Maybe you'll have a couple people that go like +6, +7, but if you're looking at team KDs overall for that particular matchup, Dallas was +45, and you never see that. If you look at Toronto's KDs, you see a lot of 0.8s, a lot of 0.84s, 0.93, 0.88, right? So this matchup was just completely owned by Dallas, and they're absolutely looking like one of the best teams as we head into this championship weekend. And of course, the other one was the matchup between Atlanta and, I know this says LA Optic. This is from Faze Easy Mac, but obviously it's Chicago. You can see the names here are Chicago also. And the biggest one here is that if you look at this matchup, this was super close. It ended up going map 5. And this was so close, even with, this has been talked about time and time again, Pristini having a 0.58 KD. Formal played well, Envoy played well, Scump played well, Arceus had a 0.94. But if Pristini doesn't have a 0.58, I'm not sure that Atlanta is the second team into the loser or the winner's bracket final. So I don't know, if you look up above, Priesta played really well, Abizi played really well, Celium played okay, Major Maniac and Simp were negative. So I don't really know what happens here. Even if Pristini puts up a 0.85 or a 0.9, I think Chicago might end up winning this matchup. So just kind of giving you guys a little bit of an overview of how things ended up working out heading into this championship weekend. So at this point in time, we have to go ahead. We have to move some people along. So between the matchup of Chicago and London, I think this is going to be a tremendous matchup. I think the storylines, I think you have that team from EU. You have the most popular team in NA. The fact that they're going up against each other with so much on the line. I love the storylines here. But I do think that when it comes to a moment like this, you just see Scump making plays. You see Formal making plays. The fact that so many people from the Chicago Huntsmen have been there before, there's no replacement for experience. You can play all the scrims, all the matches, everything you want to play, but when it comes down to it and you're in this sort of environment, even though it's not going to be on land and the stage won't be there and the crowd won't be there, just the fact that in the back of your mind, you know that this is for it all. I don't think that you can replace the experience and the leadership from Chicago. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put Chicago as my first team through on Championship Sunday, which will take us up above to the matchup between Atlanta and Dallas. And when it comes to this one, if you're talking about how have these teams played as of late, Atlanta barely squeaked by Chicago, even with Pristini being absolutely awful. His worst performance, even he said it was probably his worst day of all time in competitive Call of Duty. And then you have Dallas that, now again, Toronto really didn't finish the year great, but Toronto, while they did have a great end of the year, their championship run really wasn't all that great. That's what I was talking about there. When you look at Dallas, they absolutely have been steamrolling everybody. They steamrolled their way through everybody that they've seen as of late. So with that, I really do think I'm going to give the edge to Dallas here as the first team through to Championship Sunday. I think the skill that they have at the SMG position from Shotzi, the league MVP, he has been playing super well. And the biggest thing is the leadership from Clay and Krim, but more specifically Clay. I just think that he has a way of rallying his troops. He has a way of taking Shotzi and Hugh and Illy and just rising them up to levels that they probably wouldn't be able to get to without their leadership. So a lot of this does have to do with the confidence that I have in Clay and Krim as leaders. But that's going to go ahead and that's going to take Atlanta down into our losers bracket final against Chicago. And this is a tough one for me. Honestly, I've thought about this time and time again. If we're looking at the last time that these two teams matched up, and I know we've already touched on it briefly, Chicago probably ends up winning that match and ends up winning that match fairly easily. It probably doesn't even go to a map 5 if Pristini doesn't have the day that he did. But on the flip side of that, who's to say that in this matchup, Pristini won't have a bad day? Who's to say? And by the way, in their first matchup, Simp wasn't great. Simp was below 1 KD. Major Maniac was a below a 1 KD. So who's to say that the rest of those players from Atlanta don't play the exact same and Simp goes a 1.3, 1.4? Because we all know that he's probably the most dynamic player in the Call of Duty League. So with all of that in mind, I do think that Atlanta is probably just a little bit too strong. I think that this will be super close. I could see it going map 5, but if I'm just kind of visualizing how this ends up going, I think a lot would have to go Chicago's way in order for them to advance. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put Atlanta through. I do think that our 2 highest seeds, Atlanta and Dallas, will be there for our championship matchup on Sunday in that best of 9 series. So this is one of those videos. Down in the comments below, let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you disagree? Do you think that Chicago is going to make it through? Do you think London's going to end up beating Chicago? I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say with this one. So put the comments down below. Leave a like. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And as always, I will see you guys in tomorrow's upload. Enjoy day 1 of championship weekend.